Present.
Commissioner Singh.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Cummings.
Present.
Commissioner Miller. Let me check over here real quick. Commissioner Miller is absent at the moment. Commissioner Apuda.
Present.
Commissioner Vang. Thank you. Vice Chair Dolan will be absent today. And Chair McCoy.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now begin the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please stand? Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will start with the approval of the agenda. City Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, I have received a change to the agenda, and that is item 12A, the hearing, actions pertaining to proposed changes to the Parks Department master fee schedule. That is file ID 221884. That has been removed from the agenda by staff and will return on the January 9th agenda.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the amended agenda? That was a mouthful.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. Do I have a second?
I second. It's Commissioner
Thank you.
Oputa.
Thank you, Dr. Apuda. City Clerk, may you take roll call, please?
Certainly. For approval of the amended agenda, motion by Commissioner Cummings, second by Commissioner Apuda. Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barraza,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Commissioner Apuda.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Vang
Yes.
and Chair McCoy.
Yes,
Passes 7-0.
thank you. We will now move on to approval of minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes from December 5th, 2022 Parks meeting?
I have received no changes to the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I move approval, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Barraza.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. City Clerk, would you take a roll call, please?
Certainly. Motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Barraza, second by Commissioner Cummings. Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barraza,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Commissioner Apuda.
I abstain as I wasn't present.
Thank you. Commissioner Vang. Thank you. And Chair McCoy.
I approve. Yeah,
That item passes. Thank you.
you're welcome. We will now move on to subcommittee reports. This item is a discussion item for the commission and no public comments will be taken related to this item. Does the Cultural Arts Plan Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to this commission?
Thank you, Chair McCoy. This is Commissioner Parks. No update other than that we'll have a lovely presentation here shortly about the current progress of the plan development. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the Parks Master Plan Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to this commission?
Go ahead, Commissioner Cummings.
Oh, okay. Yes. I'd like to report.
Madam Chair, if I could just have, we're both have information. A meeting has been scheduled at the start of January, and we'll be working on chapters 2 and 3. And Commissioner Cummings, if I missed anything, please. Yeah,
Absolutely perfect. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you both. Does the Outreach Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to this commission? No update at this time. So we will now move on to members' reports and comments. As a reminder, this is a time for commission members to report anything they feel important for the public or commission to know, but it's not a time for discussion. Commissioner Barraza, do you have any reports or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank park staff for a wonderful Christmas event at Romaine Park last Friday. It was nice to interact with the community and to see the joy of children that were actually had the visit of Santa Claus, and it was beautiful. And thank you, Director Aaron Aguirre and all the staff that were on hand at that wonderful event.
Thank you. Commissioner Cummings, any reports or comments for the commission?
I'd like to second what Commissioner Barraza was talking about. There was several events actually that Parks held, both for associated with holiday activities, reach out to families, and then also for a little bit more awareness for Measure P. So that's really great. And I also wanted to mention that Tree Fresno just finished, well, this next week we'll finish 114 trees at Malaga Recreational Center. So that's a high need area in Fresno County, very nearby. I think it's a county island technically. But I know that many people visit it and would be happy to know that there's a line of trees that are going to go along their trail and encompass the park. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Dr. Apuda, do you have any reports or comments for this commission?
I do, Madam Chair. Something I just want to do a brief comment on now and then may comment on it more during the new year. But I did receive a communique of concern from a citizen regarding Sunset Center, and their concerns were around the current relationship with Street Saints and the current staffing, and feeling like with the changes that have occurred, that the programming has decreased in their eyes. I haven't been able to meet with the citizen, but they gave me some detailed information. So we are going to have a conversation at the beginning of the year, and then I'll either talk to you, Aaron, after that, and bring more information to the commission. But I did want you all to know, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the concerns, Aaron. They had mentioned this as much, but there were some concerns about the quality of service for the children and the after-school programs and the current relationship with Street Saints, who have been operating out of there for quite some time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Apuda. Commissioner Singh, do you have any reports or comments for this commission tonight?
No reports or comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Parks, do you have any reports or comments for this commission tonight?
No reports or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to city administration and park staff reports and comments.
Chair
Does anyone
McCoy?
from?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Vang is also in the chamber, and I just want to make
Oh.
sure she has an opportunity to talk as well.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that she was present. I'm sorry, Commissioner Vang. Do you have any reports or comments for this commission?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to share out that the Hmong Cultural New Year celebration is going to be on December 29th to January 1st at the Fresno Fairground. As part of the New Year celebration, the Hmong Story Legacy Project unveiled an interactive multimedia exhibit, which is called V9, and it's the Hmong Refugee Exhibit, and it opened December 17th, this past Saturday. It's inside the Carmen's building, and it's the first phase of a project to commemorate the 50 years since the first Hmong family was first settled in Fresno County. And we are the second highest population among people in the United States, and I encourage you to attend. If you need somebody to accompany you, email me. I am open for that, okay? That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, now we will move on to city administration and park staff reports and comments. Does anyone from the administration have any reports or comments for the commission?
I do. Thank you, Chair McCoy. TJ Miller, Assistant City Manager. I just wanted to give you a quick update through the budget process, which I'll plan to do throughout this preparation for our fiscal 24. So currently, administration is working on our internal service funds, and that is kind of a set point as you gave your recommendations to the Parks Department. They're working those into their requests for FY24. Along with all of the other departments. And another very critical piece is for us, the city administration, letting all the departments know what their internal service fee will be, and that's the fee that's built in for the internal services that each department receives. So this is just kind of that moving along the process. So if you envision the timeline that you've seen multiple times, I know Aldi has walked you through the timeline of the budget. That's where we all are right now. And then we will continue to keep you updated on where we are in the process. And then finally, on behalf of the city manager's office, I'd like to take this opportunity to express our appreciation for all of the commissioners. Your representation of the community and all of your hard work is very much appreciated. I'd also like to thank the public. Your participation and your engagement in our processes and our efforts to make our park system improved citywide is very much appreciated and recognized, and it feels very good. Speaking personally, this is my personal opinion, I feel like we've had a very good year of growth and collaboration, and we're off to a great start to improve this even further as we move along. So nearing our first complete year of having all of the budget intact and all of the processes, so we continue to improve. And then finally, thanks to the park staff. Their dedication to our community is unmatched. I'm sure you guys see it. They do an outstanding job, so big shout out to Aaron and his team.
You're muted,
Chair
Madam
McCoy, I
Chair.
think you're muted. Sorry, created an awkward silence after that.
And I'm like, yes, thank you, TJ. I'm just talking over here,
I'm
having
like,
a full-blown conversation with
I wasn't
myself.
sure how to segue.
Thank you, thank you. We will now, does anyone from the park staff have any reports or comments for this commission?
Chair McCoy, Aaron Aguirre, Parks Director. TJ, thank you for that. Appreciate it, as well as the commissioners. Thank you. It's been great working with you all as well. It's been a great journey of the last year and a half that we've been together, and we look forward to the upcoming years. Just wanted to announce that last Thursday, December 15th, the annual audit was on the consent calendar for council. The audit was submitted and accepted by council. Staff is preparing a tray memo of that event, and we'll send a copy of that audit to the commissioners. We expect to have that to you sometime next week, so be on the lookout for that through an email. I just want to make sure you all have that for your files and for your review. And then also wanted to talk about the last week from last Tuesday, the 13th of December, we activated our warming center, and just wanted to kind of highlight the successes we are seeing at the center. So just a quick rundown. Maxi Park from December 13th through the 18th, we had we had 99 folks attend over that period, and had a warm place to sleep that night. Ted C. Wills was our most popular over that stretch. We had 172 individuals come visit and use the facility. Mosqueda Center over that same stretch had 32 folks come attend. And then Pinedale had a total of 33 individuals who utilized our services. So those services continue to be utilized, and staff is there with cots and blankets. And again, facilities are open from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. the following day. So we are excited to see them being utilized. So just wanted to highlight that. And then my last announcement, and I don't think we made this announcement last meeting, but I'd like to announce to the commission as well as the community that Edward Chinevere, who many of you have the opportunity to work with, has accepted our offer and is our second assistant director here in the department that we were able to fill. So congratulations to Ed. He's been a huge part of our team. And I know all of you have worked with him, and I look forward to, again, you all working with him on future projects. So thank you for that. And I will turn it back over to you, Chairman Clark. Thank you.
Aaron, what was the total attendance at the warming center?
Let me see how good my Excel skills are.
It could be tricky now.
So Dr. Apuda, over the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-day stretch at 4 locations, 336
Wow.
members visited our site. So happy to report that.
That's awesome. All right, we will now move on to hearings. 12-B.
Unscheduled?
Unscheduled
Yes.
communication.
Oh, sorry, I'm flying through it again. It's the day, Quill. It's the day, Quill. We will now move on to unscheduled communication. Will any member of the public like to speak on any issue within the jurisdiction of this commission? You will have up to 3 minutes.
All right, so people viewing on Zoom, now would be the time to raise your digital hand to address the commission with unscheduled communication. There are no hands currently in the chamber, and the first speaker on Zoom is Brandy N. Brandy, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you very much for your time. One, I do want to ask that that perhaps the agendas could come out earlier. When they come in the afternoon, it doesn't give as much time for me to be able to share. And been a little behind on, didn't necessarily planned as much because I had been very involved with the warming centers, and I had a chance to visit 2 that I hadn't been to, the Mosqueda and Pinedale, and just have some asks. One, I want to say that your staff is lovely. There's several of them, like Rosie and Aisha and Nellie, that I've met last winter, and they are incredible. I know that they care so much about the people there. I have some asks because it's been an exhausting week, and I don't normally. I wouldn't normally share what I'm doing or make a big claim, but a huge portion of the people that came there is because of me and some other and a small group of people that got together to make sure that people knew about it, and they wrote it. They got over there because currently it's only announced day by day, and and then it's posted on the social media for City of Fresno, but no one out there is on the Fresno socials. Most of them don't have phones, so I probably put in 50, 60 hours this past week. I'm pretty tired, so but we went out like every night, giving rides to people, letting people know. I made my own flyers to hand out. I got a group of amazing people that went out there, gave rides. We went during the day, told people about it. We posted flyers in different different places, and they helped with rides. And then we had people. We worked together to give rides back for those who had accessibility issues, and try to hit as much of the different parts of town as possible. Have people that lived in Southeast Fresno that got their neighborhoods and who knew they're unhoused. So. I want to ask, and probably in the Measure P thing, it will mention about like wanting funding to have it open all winter because, and I'll give out the logistics of that, but it does help so much because it takes a while for word of mouth. But also things that I feel like you guys that may be able to help is signage would be huge, like having big colorful signage in front. And I didn't see any other, like that because I saw people right outside of Maxiel Park the first day that were there and didn't know it was open after it was open. And I'd love to have signage in different language. I'd love to be able to see flyers, effort to get these out at bus stops because they work, and I hear from people about it, to have maybe ways to be able to communicate, ways to overcome this, be able to, and be able to have as well. I would like to be able to ask that they have the ability to have food and drink in there, because I know some centers they can't, but people are very hungry, and I know that people would be willing to donate food and drink.
We're just past our 3 minutes.
Okay, but yeah, I do want to ask, and I will bring it back for Measure P, that we need to have it open consecutively, and I will share the reason why for the budget thing, as it is as a budget thing, and I will be also continue to speak to the city council regarding that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. And next on Zoom, we have Latanya Beeman. Latanya, go ahead and unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Good evening, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I was wanting to ask 2 questions. The first is, how do I apply for help with the Measure P funding? And the second question is, how do I find out how to apply about the community, when you hold community events at the parks? And I heard you guys talking about you can get funding up to $36,000 per year. And how do we apply for that, or how do we find out about all these programs to get help?
And just as a
And that's
reminder,
it.
thank you very much. And just as a reminder, unscheduled communication is the time for the commission to take in what you have to say to them. Doesn't always mean that there's going to be a response. We have Brown Act issues we need to be cognizant of. So thank you very much. And
Thank you.
And next on Zoom, we have, that is it for Zoom. And I think we do have one unscheduled speaker in the chamber. And if you go ahead and address the podium here, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Okay, hello, good evening. I just barely made it through security. My name is Dr. Karolina Simunovic. I'm a physician at Kaiser, but I grew up here in Fresno. I'm trying to become more involved in the parks process. I've had a couple, there's 2 issues that are of concern for me, and I know I'm coming in very blank without having reviewed your agenda, so I apologize for this to come out of turn. One is regarding Sunset Community Center in Southwest Fresno. The City of Fresno is taking a lead role in the after-school program there. I have a personal investment in that my son is a student at Sunset Elementary School, which is adjacent to it. Last year, he participated in the after-school program as a kindergartner, loved it. At that point, it was run by a nonprofit, a community-based organization called the Fresno Street Saints. And they've been fantastic in what they do in providing for the kids. But I think maybe logistically have had some challenges. So they're no longer lead agency there. And I don't know if what's happening at Sunset is also happening in Mosqueda or in other centers, but it's that the city, with the new funds from Measure P, which I was all about, wants to take the lead role in running all of the programs there. However, in that particular center, the end product, ends up being inferior now to what we had before. And I wonder if there could be an opportunity at some point to really delve deeper into those community centers that housed community-based organizations like Street Saints while times were tough financially, where those organizations were able to build something really beautiful, build community. And continue with their longevity. Like Street Saints has been there for about 10 years. And then now it seems like we will have no more room for them at the center. Oh, that's my 3 minutes. And I would love for there to be room for them at the center, for space for a quality after-school program, which they're involved in, and collaboration with the City of Fresno and parks, where recreation could be provided, but also that that very crucial after-school program, structured support, but also longevity and community building that organization was all about for that Southwest Fresno community. That I think that's key. My second issue was also the auto park, but I can do that at another time. Okay, thank you. And I don't know if I've completely missed when or how that could be addressed. And we have had one meeting with Parks Department, Parks staff, and Director Aaron Aguirre on this, but just wanted to bring it to the attention of this entity and then see how we can work to keep that going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have no additional hands on Zoom and no additional hands in the chamber.
Thank you. We will now move on to hearings. 12B, ID number 22-1909, hearing to provide an update on the development of the Cultural Arts Plan. Would someone from the Parks Department please begin the presentation?
Yes, so you can let me know if you can see my screen. I would greatly appreciate that.
We can, Jen, it's in presentation mode.
There we
Yes.
go. How about that?
Perfect.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Chair McCoy, and good evening, commissioners. I'm Jennifer Solis, and I'm happy to provide you with another update on the development of the Cultural Arts Plan. The main purpose of today's presentation is really to provide you with with high-level findings and takeaways based on the input and data collected during phase 1 of our outreach period. Just kind of a brief reminder, our outreach approach was to be conducted in 2 phases. Phase 1 of the outreach was to collect data and feedback to inform the draft plan, and the phase 1 outreach period did close after our last community meeting on November 9th. Phase 2 of our outreach will occur when the draft plan is released for public comment, and that will allow you another opportunity to provide feedback on the cultural arts plan. I will be presenting a lot of data today and information. So for today's presentation, I ask that you just please hold off on any questions until the end, and I'll be happy to answer anything that I can. But again, just a reminder that if you do have additional input, the appropriate place to provide comments on during the next round of our outreach during the public comment period. Just a brief agenda. I will be going into detail on all of the outreach strategies and the data collected for that. But just briefly, a reminder of what we did for phase 1 of our outreach approach. We did take a mixed methods approach to allow for different ways to provide input and collect feedback on the cultural arts plan. And that started with the foundational research. We launched our survey, which we saw over 4,000 responses. We conducted in-depth interviews and connections with local artists and cultural practitioners. We met with each council district, and of course, we had our 8 community meetings. I presented all of our communication efforts and strategies to the commission back in October, but I want to follow up and highlight some of our numbers and the amount of people that we were able to reach. We were able to advertise in all languages on all of our fax buses, so that was able to cover all of the routes. And the ridership during that outreach period was 729,839 riders. So quite a bit of reach there on the fax buses. And then we also executed quite a bit of digital advertising, where we saw over 448,000 impressions and over 1,800 clicks on our digital ads between the Fresno Bee, Business Journal, Valley Public Radio, Monroe Review, and Univision. We did also see over 5,300 visits to the City of Fresno Measure P webpage, and 3,900 of those visits were unique visitors. In addition to the traditional advertising, we distributed tons of flyers through door-to-door canvassing, as well as canvassing at events like Art Hop. We distributed flyers to over 25 businesses. We reached 2 school districts covering 129 schools, 18 community centers, and 10 of the county libraries that are within the city limits. And then for our community meetings, we had a total of 175 attendees, and that was 120 in person and 55 virtual attendees, and 1,390 additional views through CMAX live stream. So I would also like to thank our partners and the commission who shared information to help spread the word during phase 1 of our outreach. So diving a little deeper into each individual approach, the foundational research kicked off phase 1 of our outreach efforts, which collected information that would inform other methods of the data collection. Research was conducted from over 100 sources, including City of Fresno plans and policies relevant to research on cultural arts. There was a comprehensive cross comparison of cultural arts plans from other cities. And then the findings were based on themes identified through the collective review and recurring ideas. And those The summary of findings were identified as essentially needing to be further addressed in the development and the data collection process. And NCAP, our consultants, found that Fresno is a unique community with rich diversities. Fresno has active artist communities, utilizes arts education in private and public institutions, and uses the arts to build and connect its communities. And transportation infrastructure could be improved to increase accessibility and participation in arts and culture throughout the city. So moving into the survey, we reached, again, just over 4,000 responses. And our survey sample does closely reflect the racial and ethnic makeup of Fresno when we compare it to the census, the official census data. And as you can see on the table to the left, you can see where our survey collection sample, the percentage, and then where the census is as well. So you can see that we were closely reflective of that data. And then on the right, the chart on the right essentially shows the number of respondents on the number of people responding to that question, where N is the number of respondents, so 3,695 responses on this question. So there were 3,428 responses to the age group question, and the chart is listed in chronological order. The top age group was 35 to 44 with just over 20%, and a very close second was the 65 and over age group. In terms of gender identity, this was a self-identifying question. So we asked respondents to write the gender that they identified with. 64% identified female, 35% identified male, and 1% identified non-binary. We received 3,150 responses to the family income question. And the order goes from the least amount of earnings to the highest amount. And almost a quarter of our respondents have a family income of less than $20,000. Residents from all over the city took our survey, and the graph shows the top 15 zip codes. And just to kind of go over the top five include 93702, 93727, 93725, 93711, and 93704. So that concludes our demographics questions. And moving into the questions on the survey, we wanted to really get an understanding of how people felt about the arts and culture scene in the city and how much they participated in cultural arts. So we asked how much they agreed with the statements, and the darker shades show where residents completely agreed, and the lighter shades move towards completely disagreed. So we found that more than half of respondents feel positively about the cultural arts scene. And most people in Fresno do want to experience art and culture, but less than half consider themselves being involved with this scene. We also wanted to find out arts and culture activities that people engage the most with. The chart on the left are activities or events that don't typically happen on a day-to-day basis, where the chart on the right shows more of those day-to-day activities. So we found that close to half of the respondents have participated in live music or visual arts events or activities within the past 6 months. And then we found that reading a book or listening to a podcast or an audiobook were the most common activities in the second chart. And that suggests a particular interest in literature among residents. So in this question, we wanted to understand what extent of residents engage with arts and culture as a profession or those who make money from cultural arts. So we asked if residents considered themselves as someone who produces or practices art, which is the first question to the left, showing that 3,650 respondents answered that question. And if residents answered yes to that question, they were prompted to answer the following two questions, which is why you see the N on the two right questions as 1,562 respondents, because 44% of the respondents answered yes to the first question. They do consider themselves someone who produces or practices art. And then of that 44%, 25% said that they regularly make money from their artistic work, and 14 said that that was their main source of income. So this question provides data on essentially the most common barriers for residents in Fresno to engage with arts and culture. And the most common barriers were costs, location, and distance, and time. And this relates kind of to the back to the foundational research finding of transportation and accessibility being an important factor as the plan further develops. We did also want to find out what drives people to engage in arts and culture, and the top reasons were to learn or experience something new, and to spend time with family and friends, and to participate in their local community. So our consultants NCAP conducted 18 in-depth interviews. This is another strategy and approach, outreach approach that we're moving into. They conducted 18 interviews with local artists and cultural practitioners to obtain insights into the arts and cultural life of Fresno from the perspective of the local artists and cultural practitioners. And they were able to provide input with context for the responses. The interviews gave an opportunity to ask follow-up questions to ensure clarity and understanding, and to allow the interviewee to expose new areas of concerns, new figures, new practices for the development of the plan. Topics covered in these interviews centered on better understanding cultural assets, identifying challenges to the arts community, and discovering emerging opportunities and possibilities. And the selection of takeaways were guided by frequency, so how often a particular point was mentioned, to really establish connections between findings and other data collection sources. So a selection of the overall takeaways from the in-depth interviewees. In the first 2 points, almost all interviewees spoke proudly of the vibrancy of Fresno's arts and culture scene, and most acknowledged arts as a means to really break down particular barriers. So some who work with certain arts organizations acknowledged the difficulty of building an audience and achieving visibility on a citywide scale. Many also recognized the need for more opportunities to cultivate and retain local artists. And some spoke of challenges related to climate and geographic challenges, as well as challenges related to the pandemic. Respondents spoke of needing more support, specifically related to the financial support. And they also spoke about the need of building a community among community organizations, and spoke on some strategies to build an audience and build visibility, as well as information sharing. And the last bullet says that many respondents spoke about education programs and how effective and proud they are of the current programs, and that they will be essential to continue to build an audience and engage Fresno. So to kind of complement and expand on the in-depth interview, NCAP provided a set of questions to individuals referred from the in-depth interview process, through the subcommittee, through PRAC hearings that we heard, through foundational research, and other contacts provided throughout the data collection period in phase 1. So this included representatives from educational institutions, local nonprofit organizations, local artists, and cultural practitioners to really get specific insight on the state of arts and culture. Again, this process was a little bit less formal than the in-depth interviews, but covered similar topics here. And 24 responses were received. And the takeaways from that, the connections there, are that 70% of the participants stated that Fresno's arts and culture scene is anchored by several longstanding organizations. The most urgent challenges stem from a lack of funding and resources, particularly after the pandemic. And again, funding is a kind of a topic that we've been seeing across the board. We also saw that 16% of the participants explicitly state Measure P funds as one of the greatest opportunities for arts and culture in the future. And participants cited the importance of supporting established institutions while also helping newer organizations take hold in Fresno. So we held 8 community meetings. 6 were in person. One of those was including a youth-oriented meeting. We also had 2 virtual meetings where we did an activity to collect input. And we asked 4 questions, and then participants created themes based on responses to those questions. And for those of you who were able to participate in the in-person meetings, the questions were broken out by the different colored sticky notes. And if you attended virtually, we used the Q&A function there. In total, for the community meetings, we collected 2,800 responses and 194 community-based themes, all of which you can see divided here throughout the questions broken out. So we identified the following responses as most frequently mentioned across the community meetings. And in the first question, which was, what arts and cultural activities do you participate in Fresno? 12.4% listed attending miscellaneous art shows and exhibits. 11.6% listed museums, and 4% referenced Arte Americas specifically, and then 6.8% listed Art Hop. So when it came to activities outside of Fresno, most residents listed visiting bigger museums like the Museum of Modern Art and the Met in New York. 12.5% listed museums, both nationally and internationally. 6% listed activities and institutions they visited in cities within California, so San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Sacramento, as those are most accessible to people on a more frequent basis. And then 6% listed attending various festivals. So as for why these activities were important to Fresno and how they could provide, I guess, a better support. Oops, sorry, let me go back. As on the third bullet here, the following key points were repeated across many of the responses. So 10.6% listed the significance of community through arts and culture. 5.4% listed the power of arts and culture to support local and preserve the history of Fresno, and 4% expressed the importance of arts and culture for the youth. So the next 3 responses are essentially how the city can support. The few takeaways were that 14.4% emphasized the need for money and funding for all institutions, artists, and organizations in Fresno. 6.5% listed the need for activities and opportunities for the youth in and outside of school, and 5.3% expressed a desire for more affordable spaces, artist studios, and venues. And the themes developed by the community showed strong recurring patterns. 16.5% supported funding and providing grant programs for the local artists, organizations, and institutions of Fresno, as well as reducing some of the costs for activities or admission fees. 16.5% mentioned community in some way, whether that be strengthening community, listening to the community, or supporting the community through arts and culture. 15% emphasized the importance of highlighting Fresno's cultural diversity, recognizing the barriers that affect specific groups from participating, like safety, transportation, parking, again, as we've been hearing throughout this presentation, and really to ensure equitable access to arts and culture as we move forward. 7.7% highlighted the importance of creating arts and culture activities, events for everybody, whether that be families, children, or youth, and seniors. and 3.6% recognized the need to establish Fresno's identity through arts and culture to really try and make a name for itself nationally and internationally. So now that we've gone through all of the individual data, we kind of start to see some higher level takeaways that spans across all of our outreach approaches and some of those connections from phase 1 of our outreach. And some of the takeaways that we saw consistently and repetitively from the data collection was that residents are highly engaged with arts and culture, both as practitioners and consumers. So that could be, more traditional consumption in venues, concerts, or in the museums, or it could be the residents who are reading the book or listening to the podcast. And this shows an expanded understanding of what arts and culture is and that it can have multiple definitions. We've seen frequently that residents mostly look for arts and cultures to provide new experiences and help them strengthen connections with loved ones, and that's how residents view it. And also serving as a means to break down the barriers, including the racial, ethnic, economic, and geographic barriers. Many talked about that arts and culture should be considered as an integral elements to any educational programming and citywide mental health awareness initiatives. Also, focusing on longstanding legacy cultural institutions serves to strengthen community and anchors and fosters new artists and arts organizations. As you saw throughout the presentation, improving transportation and park infrastructure, making it easy, accessible, and affordable and safe is needed to build audiences for venues, as well as provide a gathering center for the community to provide a space where the community can come together and have arts and culture in different spaces and locations. And there was also a strong desire to have an informational hub where the community really can go to see what's going on, whether that be the traditional or non-traditional events through media and culture. And there was a really big desire to create a hub and networking opportunity. So I know this is a lot of data, but definitely important to keep in mind that it's still further being analyzed, and this information will inform the draft plan, which again is when the next opportunity to provide additional input or comment on the draft plan. We are kind of in a quiet period right now as the draft plan is being developed, and as a phase 2 of our outreach process will begin when the draft plan is released, which is scheduled to be released in mid-March. And at that time, again, is when we can hear additional input, or when you'll have another opportunity to provide that feedback. And that is all I have, but I'm happy to take any questions if you might have any.
I think I have to go out to the public first. So
Yes.
So would any member of the public like to provide a comment regarding this item? You will have up to 3 minutes for comment.
So we do have someone in the chamber and a few hands on Zoom, and we'll start in the chamber. Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Karolina Simunovic, a physician at Kaiser. I'm also the PTA president of Sunset Elementary School as well, so that's why I'm here today. And we did vote to support the advocacy for Sunset Center that I talked about before, as well as just advocating on behalf of Sunset. Recently, through funds from the Fresno Art Council, we were able to take our entire first grade class to Arte Americas as a field trip. Sunset is a dual immersion Spanish language school. Arte Americas, obviously an important cultural arts and museum in the area. And it was fabulous. All I would just say is I'm so glad that we're having this conversation, and that there could be room, as it was highlighted there, for grants and other programs for arts in the schools, in all of the area school districts. opportunities for students at a young age to start visiting our local museums, like as some classrooms do, if the teachers are very proactive about it, and just making that part of a steady funding stream so that costs like transportation, that's what the Fresno Arts Council is able to provide for us, but admission and other engaging activities. That day we had such a lovely event with an arts and crafts activity that was designed for our students. So things like that, that funding could be made for school-based programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there are no other hands in the chamber, but we do have a few on Zoom. And the first one up is Latanya Beeman. Latanya, you may go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hello, I'm not really familiar with how to do this, so I'll just do the ask for a little grace here. My name is Latanya Beeman, and I serve in West Fresno, a little church called Horseback Ministry, the youth there in that community. That was a beautiful presentation you just gave. I don't know what I'm supposed to say, so I'll just say what I want to say. But I just want to say that the children in our community, they love to dance and they love to sing and play instruments. When they come to the after school program, they bring their instruments from school and they say, "You want to hear me play?" I'm like, "Yes." And then I just want to say that to say, so you'll know what they're interested in West Fresno. And they love volleyball. The Hmong community there, they love to play the volleyball at the park. They're on West Almy, but they don't have like a court, and it's not a bathroom at that park. And if something happened at that park, my church is a couple of doors down, so they usually come to me and say, "Hey, this is going on at the park." So yeah, that's what I wanted to just put in my input on West Fresno children. And they love to do arts and crafts outside when the sun's shining, have their little table outside doing arts and crafts. Oh, they love that. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And the next hand on Zoom is Brandy. Brandy, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Yes, thank you. I want to say that I went to the one of the community survey meetings in West Fresno, I think Edison, and I really, really appreciated it. It was the way that was done. People had a chance to write things on, just brainstorm on notepads and on little sticky notes and share. And a lot of the things that I heard, including things that I was thinking of, was definitely reflected in there. And I do hope and look forward to hope that the details of what people shared is during those meetings would be accessible to the Parks Commission, because people had a lot of wonderful ideas of ways that they want to see arts improved. And I know this is an overview, but I do hope that's in there. And I certainly, one thing with that was in there is a lot more investment in artists themselves, who are a major asset in our community. So along with definitely having more accessibility and more investment in arts in our, sorry about the dog, and neighborhoods, especially underserved neighborhoods specifically, was a detail that went with that third point. Also, providing for and making as much investment in the artists in our community it was a huge need that would love to see reflected. And I'm really glad that there's also mention of a robust arts in K-12. I was previously an art teacher at some point, and I will be resuming that, and know how absolutely crucial that is for arts in education in the K-12 to be a priority, and to have wonderful programs brought in for a robust art program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And with that, there are no more hands on Zoom and no more hands in the chamber. And I'll throw it back to you, Chair McCoy.
Thank you, City Clerk. I would now like to bring it to the commission. Does any member of the commission have questions or comments regarding this item? And I see your hand up, Commissioner Barraza. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The one part that I'm interested in learning how you are going to be able to identify is that the arts and culture is so diverse. There's so many areas. I was just trying to look at things like in music, you have singing, you have live performances, you have concerts at the park, you have folkloric dance, you have ballet. So that's one category. Then we go into the theater or even the movies, I guess. Then you have the arts and crafts, painting, clay work. My question, the reason why I cite all those examples is at some point when the allocation of money is going to be made, we have to have a sense of what is it that's going to be promoted or what is it that we're going to be targeting. And I know that's the first part of my question is how will you identify that? The second part is I know that there is a partnership with the Arts Council, but I don't know if the Arts Council is involved in all those diverse artistic areas. But anyway, I guess the simple question is, how would you capture the diverse opportunities in the arts and culture to make sure that it's as close as it can be to represent the interest of the very diverse communities?
Thank you
Commissioner,
for, go
yeah,
ahead,
Commissioner Barraza, I'm not sure that I totally understand your question. I know that we did a lot of outreach to be able to hear from those diverse groups, and then NCAP's going to help guide us to how do we get that to the outcome and deliverable of a plan that can help inform guidelines for the grant program and continued investment from the city of Fresno in cultural arts. So I'm not exactly sure what your question is.
Well, what I'm talking about is the specifics of the art and cultural programs. What will they be into? Will be exhibits? Will be hands-on teaching of art? And then you have the diverse disciplines. You have music, you have performance, you have painting. So I would think that at some point we want to know what is the interest of the public. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
so
talking.
based on the outreach, we have a pretty good idea of, what we heard through all the outreach and what's important to them. And then the next step will be formulating that in the draft plan. And then that draft plan should give you an idea of what you're asking for and allow the community kind of a check back with the community. Like, here's what we heard you say. Did we get it right? And through that, NCAP's going to help formulate recommendations, right? Essentially high level takeaways of here's what we heard from the community and here's how we see you being able to implement that in the city of Fresno. So a plan that can help guide us, similar to the Parks Master Plan.
And I realize that the draft master plan still is going back to the community for comments, which is good. So maybe
Not the Parks Master Plan, the cultural arts.
That might be triggering.
Sorry, the Parks Master Plan is not going out to the community. The cultural arts plan.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
So that's going back. So maybe, but anyway, I don't know if you understand did you understand my question? Is really, there's so much activity or types of art that can be done. At some point, the policy decision will have to be made. What do we target?
Mm-hmm. I think that will come out through the draft plan, through the analysis and synthesis of all the community outreach that we took, like what's important to them and how can we make that happen in the city. And then you're right, it'll be policy, right? This will go to council and then they'll be able to make a decision on the policies that are part of that plan, which will guide the Parks Department.
Thank you.
I don't see any hands up on my screen. Are there any hands up in the chamber for our commissioners. Commissioner Singh, Commissioner Parks, do you have any questions in regards to this presentation?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks like same for Commissioner Vang.
Okay, we will now move on to the next hearing. 12C, ID number 221886, hearing to receive public input on allocations related to Measure P, updates to the Parks Master Plan and Cultural Arts Plan, and annual Parks Department budget and capital improvement plans. Would any member of the public like to make a comment regarding this item? You will have up to 3 minutes.
All right, so now is the time for anyone on Zoom to raise their digital hand, or anyone in the chamber who would like to speak on this matter to approach the podium. And this is the hearing to receive public input on allocations related to Measure P. And we'll start off on Zoom. First up, we have Brandy N. Brandy, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you. I'll put my timer on. Okay, so continuing on, while I hope for allocation for this winter, I want to ask within this for a budget for the warming centers to be open continuously through the winter months. I have reasons that I'll explain. Like all services pertaining to those who are unhoused, it needs to be intelligently and responsibly developed in a way that understands and considers the needs, limitations, and humanities of those who are being served to be accessible as possible regarding all unhoused services. But certainly for this one, which is
Your audio cut out, Brandy. I don't know if you know that or if you can hear us.
Huh? What's that?
Your audio cut out, so we couldn't hear.
Oh, do I need to restart?
No, I think it was about cooling centers staying open.
It was about the last 10 seconds, and I did pause your timer for you, Brandy.
Okay. Okay, so, all right, I'll start. Okay, I would like to have the warming centers to be open continuously through the cold winter months. Like I said, all services pertaining to those who are unhoused, it needs to be intelligently and responsibly developed in a way that understands and considers the needs, limitations, and humanities.
Yeah, Brandy, you keep cutting out there.
And they were shivering, and the idea that it is because of the city's rule that is under 35 that it is not considered cold enough for them to be taken care of tonight is does not make sense. But also, so we need to have that protection, especially when it rains and other things where there is just it's a health thing. But also, there's also logistical issues that we want to address, like it takes time and effort for people to know about warming centers. And it was sad to hear from a woman at the pub that people were just barely today hearing about there being another warming center after it was closed after 5 days because the weather went up. The first day of the warming centers, I believe there was no one at least one of them. I don't know if there was one at the other one, but we invested a lot of time as community members who are just giving our time together and know about it to notify people. We went day and night telling people, giving the information, coordinating rides, handing information out, to talking to people at different gas stations near the centers to let them know about it. If the dates are established, once people learn about the warming centers, they would know what days to expect in the future. And they will, last year we were open for 5 weeks, and every day just like this, the more people knew, the more they came back, because those who know about it will come back and they will spread the word to their community, and more people would come. And we saw that happen in both these cases. We had, it would also help partner and like outreach groups and partner groups to be able to plan, to be able to have flyers. We could be able to have maximize and have signs and flyers all over town to make sure that people know about it. One of the things that are part of those numbers, and like I said, I firmly believe like 90-95% of the people who went to at least the Tessie Wills and Maxie were because of our little group reaching out, is we did a direct outreach and give rides. And so there's logistical and physical limitations that people have that make it hard to access those, and picking them up helps. And hopefully having, so I'd like to also ask for a ban and budgeting for outreach, but also if we had it opened all summer long, then groups that have those resources could potentially be able to plan to be able to do outreach and go out and be able to have more reach, because people loved it so much. They were so sad this
And
morning when they had to leave and they found out, and they were very
we are
and they were
just
so
past
grateful.
our 3, Brandy. Thank you.
Yeah, and I had my timer on, and I didn't look at it. But yeah, so thank you so much for having the warming centers. We would love to. I know that the community center workers and as well as all of us would love to be able to have this so that we can be even more successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next up on Zoom, we have Latanya Beeman. Latanya, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hi, I wanted to say, yes, I wanted to find out about all the information. I'm trying to respond to the question that you asked before you allowed us to speak. And so yes, I wanted to find out about all the information. And I wonder, is it possible if someone can come and hold a meeting at the church in West Fresno? If that's possible for people in the community can come out in the country part in West Fresno. And I don't know if you guys know, but it's no bathroom at the park on West Almy. It's no bathroom there for the children at that park. And they need a park that has a bathroom. I think it does have water though. And just to do like an upgrade, I wanted to ask if they could do an upgrade for their park to have like a water park and make it nice like the parks. Because when they go to the water park or picnic or something, they go way somewhere else instead of coming to our park. And what about the children that don't have parents with cars that could take them to the water park way over on Chestnut, So I want to see if you guys could do an upgrade to the park on West Almy. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Latanya. And next up, we do have one speaker in the chamber. Oh, you wanted to know which park that was? The park on West Alamy. No bathroom. Director Aguirre or Assistant Director Ramirez, do either of you know the name of the park on West Alamy for the commission question?
That park is referred to as Royan Almy Park. It was an old Habitat for Humanity park that was turned over to the city, I want to say about 8 years ago. So we refer to it as Royan Almy Park.
Thank you very much. And we do have one speaker in the chamber that would like to speak. Go ahead and state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Okay, I'm Dr. Carolina Samunovich, and I wanted to address two topics. One, again, Sunset Community Center. The facility itself is very dilapidated. I know Director Aguirre knows about that well and reviewed it during our meeting. It is such an important piece of the local community, not just to the adjacent school, but to the neighborhood kids throughout. It has a little playground in which my son broke his foot last year because there was inadequate mulch. And it also, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my dear. And when you go inside, it really is not to the standard of the city of Fresno, okay? Not something that we would see in Northwest Fresno, Northeast Fresno now. You go in, and thank goodness that a community-based organization like Street Saints was there and tried to paint the walls blue to make some happiness and get some furniture inside. But when you go inside, and I invite you all to come take a tour, it's quite dilapidated and not worthy of our children, okay? Regardless of where you come from, any children that lives in this city or in this county, deserves quality facilities, which is what we all supported Measure P for. And I think if you can prioritize the funding to go to those centers that are most at need, I think we've heard a lot this evening about West Fresno or Southwest Fresno, and that I would just say that the funding for community center rehabilitation, making that a safe and healthy place for kids and recreation is key. My second point was on Oso de Oro Park. I'm not exactly still sure the relationship with the city of Fresno Parks, as it's that is the community where I live. My kids attend school in Southwest Fresno, and I support that community. Where I live, there's also the Oto Park, and there had been some issues with the shooting and lighting and security. And I understand the flood control district has had most of the burden of the funding or upkeeping the park side, which is a beautiful park, has become a regional park. And if the city could allocate some funds to that in terms of what the community had requested at a larger community meeting there, which was for lighting, for security, for longer hours to have someone in the booth, a manned Fresno Parks employee or some employee there to just be overseeing things, that would be very helpful. However, my main emphasis is Sunset Community Center. I invite you all to come visit. I invite you all to come check it out, and I hope that funding from this amazing process can get to the communities that need it the most. Thank you.
All right, and I have no more hands on Zoom and no additional hands in the chamber.
Thank you, City Clerk. Any member of the commission have any questions or comments regarding this item? Commissioner Barraza, I see your hand up. You have the floor.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I'd like to get an update from park staff on the status of that Sunset Center. Is it going to be incorporated in the near future for some funding, or what's the status?
So Commissioner Braz, I can speak to that, and Ed, fill in any blanks I may leave out. But we currently in this budget year have 188,000 funded for outreach and design of that center. So we do have dollars set aside. In addition to that, we have some roof repairs that are being made. Those are underway currently. Some assessments have been done and repairs have been made to what we found. But again, just want to highlight that we do have money, and we're moving forward with a outreach and design of that center. So Ed, anything else to add?
Nope, that pretty much covers it. Sunset Community Center, of course, is one of our highest need centers as defined by this commission and per the definition adopted by the council. So we do want to make sure that we get adequate input from the community about what they would like to see there, and that 188,500 is going to start that process for us this year.
And the previous speaker spoke about a facility that doesn't have restrooms. Is that true?
So Commissioner Barraza, that was, as I mentioned, a old Habitat for Humanity development that they built the park in. At the time, it did not have a restroom. It's a pocket park. Inside, I think it's approximately 3/4 of an acre, maybe 1/6 of an acre. So that is similar to most pocket parks in neighborhoods without restrooms. So to answer your question, it does not have a restroom at this time.
So it's not within city jurisdiction, is that correct?
I'd have to check, but I would assume that's in city limits, city water, city sewer, but I'd have to get back to you to confirm that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. Thank you, Commissioner Barraza, for raising the concerns about Sunset Center. And we've heard a lot about that tonight. I have questions about the programming. We heard a lot about that tonight as well, about the programming, the after-school programs for the kids. A lot of parents are concerned about that. Can you elaborate a little bit, Director Aguirre, on what's going to be done or what's going on in regards to that?
There we go. So Commissioner McCoy, the after-school program that takes place over there, we start like our other centers at 3 o'clock. Center includes help with homework. In addition to that, there is some recreation and other activities after that. Early on, I know we had some struggles with it being a dual immersion school with bilingual support. We did have an employee who promoted and moved on. We have since backfilled positions with bilingual staff to assist the children with homework. So I know those were some of the early struggles which have been addressed. We did have a meeting with the school as well as some of the community members. I think that was alluded to earlier. And those meetings will continue to happen along with the council district as well to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the community, not just the students, but also the neighbors and the surrounding children that frequent that center.
Has there been a meeting set up between the city of Fresno and Street Saints? We heard a lot about that from Commissioner Apuda and also from a speaker that was on here that there were concerns. The speaker stated that the Street Saints did a very good job with the kids. So just trying to understand what's taking place.
Right, so we have had meetings with Street Saints. They were at that meeting as well as their funding agency, Hands On California. So those meetings have occurred and again, are scheduled through the council district. I believe they are setting up the meeting to occur sometime in February or January of 2023 and other follow-up meetings.
Okay, are they still currently at the center right now since the kids are out for 3 weeks?
They are.
Okay, good. Okay. Would you be updating this commission soon after that, after those meetings, since there is some concerns? Or bringing it back to us, or do we just have to ask you during this time?
I think with the administration, TJ and I have been in discussions about this, assistant city manager, so I think we can come together and provide an update once that meeting occurs.
My other question is, even though I think it's one of the speakers referred to it as the Almy Park, I am familiar with that. It is a pocket park out towards the country in Southwest Fresno. It's not big enough to have restroom facilities on there, but is there any possibilities that it can be like a porta potty or something like that be placed there for the kids to be able to go to the bathroom instead of having to go to the church that's a couple of doors down to use it and be able to use it there if it's a city park?
Yeah, so a lot of our pocket parks do not have restrooms, which is consistent with the size of this park here. Our experience with porta potties have been vandalism in various parks. So that's one of the reasons that these centers or these parks, typically in neighborhoods, do not have restrooms just based on the size. And this one here again would fall within that kind of that scope of our other pocket parks.
Has there been any discussion about moving away from pocket parks from the city's behalf, since they're not large enough to be equipped with everything that's needed to run a park, like working bathrooms, working water, basketball nets, volleyball nets, etc.?
Erin, I just caution you on the Brown Act. I just want to make sure we're still within our limits.
Or I can agendize this and we can talk about it in our next meeting. I don't want to be about the Brown Act.
I think that's a good idea, Chair McCoy. We can talk through the philosophy on the different park structures and how it corresponds with the updates and the existing parks master plan.
Okay, I'll just put it on the next agenda. Thank you. Do any other commissioners have any other questions in regards to this item?
Commissioner Vane, I have a question.
You have the floor, Commissioner Vane.
Yeah, Director Aaron, I do have a question on Sunset, on the grant funding. Is that provided by Hands On or is it provided by the city of Fresno?
So our agreement is with Hands On, but we do have funding that operates our staff and our programs after school. So our agreement is with hands-on. That's why I mentioned them.
When you report next time, if you could just provide like, what is the grant opportunity for hands-on and what are some programs that we have an agreement with hands-on? I think that would also help us understand a little bit more about Sunset. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vane. Does any other commissioner have any questions or comments regarding this item? All right, well, we have come to the end of the meeting. I would just like to take this time before I adjourn the meeting to thank all you guys. Wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Enjoy this time with your family. If you don't celebrate the holidays, just enjoy your time with your family, with loved ones, and I will see everyone in 2023. I adjourn this meeting at 6:58 p.m. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Too.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Season's greetings, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Stay
Bye.
safe.